Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. And if you're new to the channel and you would love to be one of the people first notified when I drop a video, please do me a favor and hit the bell notification under the video that's playing right now. It'd be very much appreciated. I'm going to get right into it. This is part 2 of in dealing with the fact that Suge Knight really didn't have the power and that he really didn't even own Tupac's music or control Tupac's music after the 1997 settlement agreement that Afeni had did with Death Row with Jimmy Iovine's help. Remember, at this particular time, Suge Knight was in jail. So Jimmy Iovine had took over the reins and made what needed to happen, right? But I want you to pay real close attention to what I'm about to read you, because if you pay close attention to this, you'll understand that there was somebody in saying that Interscope in the background basically saying what should happen and what shouldn't happen and how it should work out. But they were just using the Death Row name because of how it went down in regarding to the situation and how the public perception, or should I say the publicity that came out when Tupac came out of jail, and he was allegedly supposed to be signed with Death Row, but I explained that to you already. So basically check this out, because you'll understand. If you know about the bail agreement, you know about the power of attorney, you know about all of those things, when I read what I'm going to read to you right now, you'll see that Death Row really didn't have the power that you thought they had in regards to what was really actually going on, and was kind of like a I wouldn't want to say front, but was basically being used to do the work so that Interscope wouldn't bear or be liable for the malfeasance and mismanagement that Death Row had took on in doing what it needed to be done, right? So they caught all those lawsuits after the fact, people suing and so on and so forth. So check this out. It says, under the 1997 settlement agreement with Death Row, Afeni Shakur says the estate secured all rights to Tupac's Death Row master recordings and audio-visual works. The estate agreed to accept a payment from Death Row within 60 days of the 10-year anniversary of the agreement for one album featuring unreleased Tupac recordings. His mother claims. She says that royalties from past and future Tupac releases were included in the agreement. Pause. You know about the bail agreement. You know about the power of attorney, right? You know that Death Row did not have a royalty department. So where are those royalties coming from? They're coming from Warner Brothers and Interscope. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you the things that were agreed upon, and remember, Jimmy Iovine and Interscope made this agreement with Afeni Shakur on Death Row's behalf. So if Death Row was an actual, I would say, independent or self-owned or self-governed entity, as Suge Knight was claiming, then Jimmy Iovine wouldn't be able to step in and do this. It would be someone who worked or who had took over for Suge Knight while he was in prison. But to be clear with you, right? Now, most people don't know that Death Row was heavily leveraged by the money that they had borrowed from Interscope and Jimmy Iovine. So even though Suge claimed that, well, we own our masters and so on and so forth, sure, on paper, but like anybody who takes out a loan in using the master recordings, whether it be publishing and so on and so forth, as collateral, you don't own those anymore until you pay back that money. And that money is basically used as collateral. So if you default on that loan, then those masters now become the people that belong to the people that you're now borrowing money from, right? So let me go on. It says, although Death Row Records retained physical possession of unreleased Tupac material, it had no ownership rights in and no rights to sell, license, or otherwise exploit any of the recordings or underlying compositions therein, and plaintiffs are the exclusive owners of all intellectual property rights with respect to the unreleased Tupac material, the 11-page lawsuit states. Get it? So when they did that 1997 agreement, Suge Knight, Death Row had no more rights to ownership to none of Tupac's music, none of Tupac's audio-visual works. That now all belong to the estate, Afeni, and that whole entity at that particular time, right? But Suge Knight was still, the helms and calling the shots from jail, even though I believe Mr. Norris Anderson at that time was running the label. From my best of knowledge and the research that I've done, Norris Anderson was Suge Knight's brother-in-law. But check this out. But in 2003, Death Row entered into a 10-year distribution deal for Tupac's recordings with Koch Entertainment, according to the complaint. Under that agreement, Koch was barred from assigning distribution rights to any other party without Afeni Shakur's approval, unless the assignment was part of an assignment, public offering, or private placement of substantially all of Koch's assets, the lawsuit says. So basically what that's saying is that they couldn't, do a different distribution deal with any other company or any of the rights to Tupac's music unless it was involving them selling Koch's everything that Koch owned. They couldn't separate and say, hey, we're going to do a deal with you just for these Tupac songs or this Tupac catalog and so on and so forth. They couldn't do that without Afeni Shakur's approval. Peep this. After the hip-hop label filed for bankruptcy in 2006, a trustee exercised the option on the album of unreleased Tupac songs and paid $100,000 to the estate, according to the complaint. Remember, Suge Knight had used those songs that they had agreed to for that one album to basically bolster the sale of the Death Row catalog and all of that through bankruptcy. But while it was in bankruptcy, what certain people have forgot to mention to you, the fact of the matter is that the trustee exercised the option on that album of unreleased Tupac songs and paid Afeni Shakur and the estate $100,000, according to the complaint. That album, Beginnings, The Lost Tapes, was posthumously released in 2007, right? So now you understand what I've been trying to tell you, right? So nobody's ever really said anything about the trustee exercising the option on that unreleased material, so that you know now what happened in regards to that. And so why the trustee would do that is because the trustee was basically trying to raise money to pay off the debt and the creditors who had signed on as the creditors involving the Death Row bankruptcy, the money that Suge Knight had owed to, whether it was American Express and whether it was Interscope, whether it was Warner Brothers, distributors, and all of these other peoples who would sign on as creditors, stating that they were owed money by Death Row Records. That's why the trustee would do that, right? And so what you need to understand is, at the end of the day, after 1997, Afeni owned all of Tupac's music, right? Somebody went and done a deal with Koch. She was okay with that because they had an agreement in place, right? Now, mind you, Suge Knight is in jail. Who's wielding all of this power and saying what happened and what should happen? Because once again, don't forget, Interscope has a co-publishing deal with Tupac, right? Warner Brothers has a co-publishing deal with Suge Knight, right? And so it doesn't matter if they own the masters or control the masters or none of that stuff. Even while it was in bankruptcy, they still would continue to collect publishing royalties and things for those releases. Get it? It didn't really matter. So like I said, a lot of people don't understand. And like I said before, Interscope didn't want nothing to do with all of that craziness, like I said, in the business dealings that Suge Knight had did, because they knew they were right. Their office was right across the hall from Death Row. They knew what was going on, but their situation and their business was intact. You know what I mean? They had co-publishing deals. So no matter what would happen with those masters ever, it would never affect their co-publishing deal and the money that they would collect and still continue to collect until this day in regarding the Tupac's Shakur songs, as well as the songs that they gave Suge Knight a publishing deal from. So you understand what I mean by that. So what people haven't told you and breaking it down to you, people were talking about, well, Death Row owned this and they controlled that and so on and so on. That's simply not true. After 1997, it would have been before that if Suge Knight had showed up to that meeting that they had scheduled, Afeni Shakur along with her attorneys, before he had went to prison, right? But he didn't show up. And so after that, like I said, this is what happened. 1997, they get this agreement done, and so on and so forth. So so now that you understand what that is, and this is just clearing that up. So for future reference, when you understand the totality of the business structure and what really happened, you'll understand that a lot of people have been lying to you and really did not know what was going on. Your boy DELRAY, straight game.